welcome everybody. In layman's terms, a funnel is generally at the top. A funnel, people are being exposed to your brand. At the bottom funnel, they're most likely converting. The lower they are in the funnel, the more familiar they are with you. The higher they are in the funnel, the less likely they will to buy your product or service, right? And of course, everybody has their own unique experience per the.
I think, basic level, basic understanding is just trying to pretty much capture an audience and lead them towards a very specific direction of where you want them to go. I think that's the easiest way to explain a funnel.
Yeah. You have a big range of audience, potential clients, prospects, whatever, and you kind of like trying to push them stage after stage, step after step down that stream, down that funnel, until you get to the bottom of it, which should be conversion. And the idea is to have as much like the highest conversion rate between each and every step. And therefore, if you get to that point, so the funnel is very smooth, highly performing, and the outcome eventually is the best said. Normally, building funnel is like the best. I think that the best way to do that is try to reverse engineer. You obviously look at the outcome, the objective, that last point, that conversion, and you try to build it.
And I think obviously we hear terms like customer journey, which is obviously going to be referred to when you already have a client here, kind of walking them through the entire relationship from point A to point Z as soon as they've converted. But I think there's also, when you think about a funnel, there's a prospect journey. Where are they seeing you at? How are they engaging with your content? How are they figuring out more about you? How are they being funneled to either a newsletter, a website, something to that realm? And what's actually getting them to purchase, to convert them into a customer? So I think that a funnel and focusing on the prospect journey is just as important as focusing on the internal side of a customer journey.
I just want to comment on the whole reverse engineering because absolutely you can, but it's obviously not law. You see a lot of people that do actually the opposite, where they focus. I focus personally on the Tom's approach: bottom of funnel first, figure out your conversion, and work backwards. But I know a lot of people, especially people that have strong social media audiences, they just focus on that top of funnel, but then they think and they ask themselves the question of how exactly do I convert this? What's my offer? And they're really focusing on audience before the offer. So there's not necessarily an exact way, like you have to do it this way. At the end of the day, though, the funnel, the whole funnel, the complete funnel, that's really what works.
And this is a gap in when you're taking it into like bigger companies. Everything needs to be connected eventually, and it doesn't really matter if you start from the bottom of the funnel, the top of the funnel, whatever, as long as the objective is clear with everybody and all that funnel, all the flow is clear with everybody, and everybody is collaborating to the same and pushing to the same direction, it should. So getting everything, collaborative together is the best direction. And if I'm going back to that solopreneur, again, even if you're just one person, you know where you're heading to, but still, you build those kind of like separate strategies. So you don't speak the same language, and eventually it creates the opposite of a.
Yeah, I want to talk to the solopreneurs out there specifically right now. When we talk about collaboration, you can pretty much organically create collaboration just by engaging with other content creators on the platforms that you're on. You can build up your own audience by going out there and engaging with other users that are in your space. Get those people to follow you, interact with them, have conversation with them.
And just to keep adding value, right? People think funnels, you need to have these crazy comprehensive funnels. Obviously, I think the simpler the funnel, the easier. And you can also have funnels being conquest type strategies. Overall, really start clean and small. The less steps, the better, and work from.
Starting out with what content is going to be educational to them, but also going to be able to kind of tie them in I think newsletters are important as well. If you can tie in a newsletter to where you can somehow funnel your audience from your social media channels onto your either website or onto a community or onto a newsletter, something that you can grab their actual emails or names or phone numbers or something, and then pretty much just build off of that. And it doesn't have to be perfect at first. That's why I want everyone to understand, just because you build out a funnel doesn't mean that it can't be changed, it can't be altered, or you can't take something away and then add something to it.
How would you build a funnel for an agency, which I'll definitely address. And if you don't know what type of funnel you're building, like whether it's a top, middle, bottom, just I would tell you focus on the audience that you really want and like transferable audiences. Working on an audience, especially on your personal brand. Let's say you have an entrepreneur audience and you're like, okay, entrepreneurs need productivity stuff. And you could like do a funnel built off converting off like productivity affiliate offers, right? And then you're like, actually, I want to focus more on the health side. Right. So I definitely think there's way more value in having a strong audience that bought into the brand or even your personal brand. Building a funnel that's simple, and just like an example of a funnel is you have a strong social media. That's top of funnel. We could say Twitter, right? Your Twitter, at the end of every thread that you do, in the bottom, there's a newsletter like opt-in saying, hey, if you like this type of content, you'll love my newsletter. I blast out once a week. And then the bottom could be a course, right? Or a program or consulting or an audit or a SaaS, whatever the case is. It depends what the audience is. If I were going to build a funnel for an agency, figure out your offering, validate it. And everybody, if you're looking for an investor, if you're looking for an entrepreneur, if you're looking for someone that owns a restaurant, it's not hard to get a hold of these people. Go in, don't even ask them. Like, if you don't try and sell them, but just try and gather information from them and kind of work on building that funnel there, but validate.
I have the feeling that actually everybody, all the brands today have a newsletter. One thing which is important to state is that it depends on the level of the newsletter or the quality. Many newsletters are, sorry for the word, shit. Doesn't add value, doesn't create any sort of an engagement for me. Like, normally I get those newsletters, I just completely unsubscribe and that's it. And they lost me. I think the first thing, if you're doing that newsletter, if you're buying, doubling down on this type of a thing, you need to make sure that you're building the right content and you do it recurringly over and over, and you're adding value. Whatever you're, don't try to always sell. Try always to add value, to help people, to educate, to share, the knowledge. And as an outcome of that, of these activities, you eventually sell and the revenue will come. That's an important point.
I mean, Tom, I agree, but I also disagree because like that's the approach that we're taking, where we're not selling. It's just value. How do these guys make money? They don't charge. What's the catch? Shut up. Take all the value you can get. And it does, it's a noble approach. But nobility doesn't pay the bills. And if you're not in a position where you can, monetize an offering and create a self-liquidating offer is you're running ads to an offer, and the ads, like the offer, basically the profit from that pays off the ads. So at the end, even if you break even, you still have an audience.
And I think the way that you can very indirectly promote your offer, like where you're not constantly pitching your audience, is just by promoting your case studies. Every time you promote a case study, you're not asking them to book a meeting with you. You're not asking them to make a purchase or anything like that. You're literally just showing them results from what you do. And it's a direct, I guess it's kind of like a direct message from the content that you push and that you talk about that can be beneficial to them. And they're going to be more tempted to want to book a meeting with you, to want to get more engaged with your content or your community that you're building. So I think case studies are huge. And I think that everyone out there should spend time on building solid case studies, because those can sell for you. People don't purchase at the top of the funnel. So if we're talking about just grabbing an audience to move throughout the funnel, if it's free content that's limited to a certain amount of people, I don't think you're adding any stress to anyone because at the end of the day, it's free. And they can still grab other content from you on any other vertical that they want.
Question.
Sure.
Facts are facts. You've said it, and numbers speaks by themselves. The question is, what happens on the next stage of that funnel? Because what eventually matters is the actual conversion, meaning you've started that type of a funnel with that post, obviously, so you want them to get that free content, so you kind of like push them down the funnel. But again, from your experience, because I think overall, like at least the way I treat this type of stuff, and again, we started the discussion about the urgency and scarcity and everything about that, but again, it's kind of like it's evolved a bit, the subject. I'm just pointing out that from my end, I always push for quality over quantity.
Conversions aren't always money, but just an opt-in. And just, to me, it's the opt-in, but at the same time, like, you got to see how much traffic you're sending, what's the quality of traffic. There's lots of different factors that come into play, but I think ultimately, if the conversions are going to be dictating whether or not your funnel is successful. And
Key metrics. Obviously top of funnel. How many people are coming through? How many people are actually clicking through? And then down funnel, how many people are converting? I feel like it's pretty, at least on the deliverability side of things for email. I feel like that's something that not a lot of people really look into. And especially now, like me and Jacob were talking about it the other day. If anybody's doing like lead gen with Google domains as of lately, like Google domains just got bought by, or G Suite just got bought by Squarespace. So now we've just seen deliverability just,
right?
to my knowledge, it looks like they're trying to build like a cloud-based drive similar to like Google Drive, whereas you have different services for different things. Like you got your Gmail, your Drive, you've got different, I don't know, Google Meets, right? I feel like they're building almost like a cloud service for all of their existing services, but also now they're adding in supplementary services to their main offering, which is, like you said, the websites. So it seems like they're migrating over, which is impacting deliverability, but I mean, that's just one use case off of what Ophir's point was earlier. But I guess we'll see how this goes in the future. Because, right, Google, at least for our purposes, Jacob, with email outbound, right, Google Domains was a big part in that, right? And now people are looking at different solutions. Before, I didn't even consider Cloudflare, right? It didn't seem like it was even a thing. But now it's just like, it's a reliable server, right? And like that's what we need for the purposes of doing either outbound in volume or even doing just using quality outreach. So different aspects that you got to.
My approach on this one would be keep it as simple, clean, and lean as possible, just like Jacob just said. But if you wanna get more details, which will eventually, you will be able to use them for segmentation, for better offerings, whatever. You need to frame it.
A lot of good points there. I had nothing to add here.
WordPress, Zapier, Typeform. I think those are. I don't know. I'm gonna take a breath and let everyone else say their stuff.
I'm gonna say social media to the T.
Like whatever you need to build your audience, whether that's for a specific tool, whether that's for a personal brand, whatever the reason you're building that audience for, I think you'll have specific tools to that. But like Jacob said, apologize.